Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Covenant Army Podcast, where our mission is to equip couples to align with God and win the daily battle that's raging against marriage and family. Yep. I'm Brent, and this is my super awesome wife, Miss Lucy.
Hello.
So we got a question for you guys that we've been sitting here contemplating. Why is there so much negative press about men and husbands?
I think I know.
Why?
I think I know.
Share it, baby doll. Share it.
I think that if the enemy can take out the husband, he can take out the entire family. Pretty easy. Why?
Because husband's the head.
See, but I think that's where people are getting kind of wrapped up in.
He's the leader.
Yeah.
God designed man to be the leader of the home.
But a lot of people don't believe that.
Because it doesn't matter if they believe it, it's the truth.
But that's why they're attacking men, I feel, and husbands, because they feel like that's an oppressive way to think.
I think it goes deeper than them. I think there's a real enemy out there that is strategically trying to take men out.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It goes deeper.
On a spiritual level. That's what I mean. He's just using those other people as puppets.
Well, to
spread the propaganda to chop men at the knees.
Yeah.
Right? Because if all the men are gone, who's defending the family?
And I don't know about y'all women out there, but I want my husband to be a manly man, to defend me, to defend our kids, to be that gatekeeper of our home. I'm to take out whatever enemy comes at us, whatever threat is coming.
It's a threat.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think so much social media and news reports, it's almost like
Hollywood is the same.
I can't even say the word.
Anesthetizing.
Yeah, that.
Anesthetizing.
People. Yeah.
And I'm country and I just said that word. So
You did a great job.
Just have me to read it.
But kind of sedating people with this narrative of no, sedating people, right? Programming them into thinking men are destructive. Men are too much.
Men are toxic.
Yeah.
Toxic masculinity.
They've just oppressed women for way too long. And now they just got to sit down.
Well, think about it. If you keep feeding women that narrative, they're going to start pushing back.
Well, they start to believe it. If this is what you have in front of you all the time, you will start to believe that is the truth.
Right. Women don't even want to be led by men anymore. Right. And don't get me wrong. There's been some men that have not done things the right way. Nope. I'm not standing here and saying, hey, man, that it hasn't happened.
Right.
But that was never God's design.
No. And I'm not talking about manly men like some people think.
Like what are you talking about?
I'm not talking about dominant men. I'm not talking about controlling men. I'm not talking about abusive men. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a godly man, a God-fearing man that leads his family as God calls him to lead.
I like it. I like where you're going. I think you're on something there. Keep going. I'm just looking through some notes.
It's disconcerting to see how much marriage is attacked nowadays. And now specifically husbands, men are being targeted.
Well, I know I said that men are the head, and I know that's going to get people a little twisted anyway. But think about any kind of animal. Let's just use the snake. To neutralize a snake, what do you have to take off?
The head.
The head. Right?
That's a good point.
Ooh. But there's an element there that you got to take off the piece. Right? You got to take that piece off.
So you're saying because the man was created to be the head of the house, the enemy's coming
after
to take
the
the head.
Of course.
Yeah, that's the truth. 100%. And people are buying into that narrative.
They've been buying into it for quite some time.
But it's so prevalent and so much more evident now. Like so much more in your face.
Well, it's to the point now that even men are believing it.
Yeah.
I mean, just thinking about it, there's actually men that tried to, I'm going to say this, is it demasculate?
No, emasculate.
Help us out, because I couldn't say that. You couldn't say the word, and I can't say this one. What is it?
Emasculate?
Take away the manhood.
Yeah.
You're too manly. So I'm going to tone it down a little bit. Going to put a little rouge on wherever that goes.
Oh, gosh, no.
Wear some, I don't know what the heck, dresses or whatever. Like literally men are starting to dress like women. Hey, man, these are own. But doesn't really communicate the whole manly man thing.
Listen, women, ladies.
I gotta be honest, and this is not because I was jealous. When that whole man bun thing came out, oh my gosh. I'm sorry, guys. Unless you're a samurai warrior, which none of you are, don't do that. I mean, come on, man. There's other ways. Put it in ponytail if you want long hair, that's fine. Put it in ponytail. Man bun, those two words shouldn't even put in the same sentence. That's just my 2 cents. Go ahead, babe.
I was just gonna say, women out there, like, if what everybody's doing is trying to kind of suppress the men, neutralize manliness, manhood, who's going to protect you when threats are coming your way?
Well, that's what they want.
Like if all the men are just sitting back, like, oh, we don't know what to do because we don't want to get labeled abusive or aggressive or too much, who's going to protect you? And I'm not saying that women can't like stick up for themselves.
But let's keep it real. And this is not everyone's. I don't think this is everyone. But stereotypically, men are built differently than females. And that's not to say there's not some strong women out there, because I know there's probably some women out there can bench press me. That's not what I'm saying. But overall, men are built different than females.
God
structurally.
Yeah.
And that's part of the way that God has designed it to be. We were just talking about that today. Like, isn't it interesting when a guy starts going to the gym, he sees results way quicker than a woman does?
Yeah, I find that very interesting.
I know you pointed out to me.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it, but I think it probably part of God's design for a man to be able to get quick in shape, to be ready.
It's for battle. Men have to be ready for battle.
I think there's something there.
It's woven inside of our DNA by God. There are certain things that God has called a man to do, right? Let's just name a couple of them off. And you have spoken about it already. Protect. Men are meant to protect.
Yeah.
Right?
And women, ladies, I hope I speak for most of you guys out there. Hopefully all.
We say most of you girls.
Girls, ladies, women, wives. We want that protection. Like, one of our needs as women, as wives, is to have that leadership in our home. Not abusive kind of leadership, again, not controlling, domineering. That's not the type of leadership. We need a
real leadership.
Godly leadership, leading like Christ, a servant leader. That's a sacrificial leader. Like, that's what we're looking for. All of us want that. We desire that. Yeah. I know it because we've posted about it and a lot of women comment on it.
Yeah.
And we know they're looking for that.
Well, that protection brings a sense of security for a woman.
Yeah, it does.
Segue.
On another post that we posted, my husband posted this post with the umbrellas. The one with Christ as the main umbrella.
Yep.
And then underneath that is the husband's umbrella. Then underneath that is the wife's umbrella. Right. And then
children.
And then the children.
Yep.
Interesting to see how some people actually had a problem with that.
Hey, man.
And I know when you put something out there, you're inviting feedback from everybody, which is fine, right? Like free speech still, right?
As far as I know.
Okay.
I missed the memo.
Like, everybody's got, a right to their feeling, the one feeling they're having that day about something. But think about like the root and the heart of that post. Obviously, God comes first. He was the one that was, is, will always be. He's always been. So he's first. He covers all. And then he created the man to cover the woman.
Yep.
The fact that somebody had an issue with that, like, it kind of perplexes my brain a little bit.
But hey, it's going to happen. You know why? Because this is God's ways, not our ways.
It is.
It is the biblical order of the family, and that's the way that God has designed it. And guess what? People have issues with the way God designed it. And he's the perfect creator.
But I will tell you, when you follow that order, it works.
Life goes a whole mess better.
We have seen it no matter what the circumstances, no matter what the crazy is trying to come at you.
Well, I think
when you have that order, it works.
Well, again, back to that protection. Like, God covers the entire family when you guys are all underneath that provision of God. And the husband covers the family. He shoulders that responsibility of the wife and the children. Yeah. And again, that's by God's design. Somebody has to lead the ship. That does not mean that the wife is less than. That is not.
That's what I was just about to say. I think, the women that comment on that negatively, they feel, their feelings that we're saying that the wife is less than just because her umbrella is under the husband's umbrella.
A little bit smaller.
A little bit smaller.
But I just see it as shoulders. She got a little bit smaller shoulders, which is actually pretty sexy. Because I would not want your shoulders as wide as mine. That would be weird. Hugging another wide shouldered person.
Yeah. No.
I want it smaller. You know what I mean?
So yeah, I really don't understand why people can come at that with negative feedback. And I know it's maybe somebody who's been oppressed in their relationship, maybe abused by a man, that they feel like, well, no, like I'm not giving way to that. And I understand. We understand that.
Yeah. A lot of people have gotten it very wrong. Trust me. Very wrong.
We are sharing God's design. That's not even our design. Yeah. It's God's design. Mm-hmm. Because we know it works. Yeah. It works. Your marriage can be successful.
Yes, 100%. So we talk about protection, which is part of the role of the husband, right? Part of the role of the man, something that God has woven inside of him. Another part of that, provision, to provide. Mm-hmm. Talk to any man. When you say, how are you doing leading your family? The one thing that is on every man that hear him talk about, I provide for my family. Mm-hmm. It's woven in. Like, this is cross-cultural. Men have it woven inside of us that we need to provide for our family. Mm-hmm. Now, it does not just stop in monetary provision.
Right. It's not just financial.
It's not just financial provision. And this, again, is where we've gotten it wrong many times. Because there's many times where, to be honest, I thought that as long as I worked and put a roof over the head and got food on the table, that was enough. I did my part. But I didn't know the whole truth. I was stuck in just part of it. Until I started to realize there's spiritual provision, there's emotional provision, there's financial provision, right? Mm-hmm. There's so many different elements, and that's only a couple. I'm not going to go into every one of them because that's not what this.
And even that, some people have had a problem with. Well, why does the man have to be the provider? Why can't the woman be the provider?
Talk to God, man. I don't know. That's just the way it is.
But they've come at men with that.
But what happens when? Let me ask you this question: if it's so natural for women to be the head provider, right? Now, when I say head, to shoulder that full weight of covering down the house, what happens to that woman? Is that a happy woman? Like, do you see her walking around with smiles on her cheeks and bubble gum and lollipops falling off her toes? Probably not. Chances are she's a little angry. She's a little frustrated. She's a little upset. Why? Because she was never designed to carry that weight. Not that she can't, right? Because she very well can.
Right.
But that's not her weight to carry. So it's an extra burden. So you see it on her.
I don't really know too many women myself that I've met that want to shoulder the full burden of the family.
It's not woven. I don't think it's woven in their DNA.
I don't think.
And even the ones that have to, and there's times, listen, guys, if you're a single mom out there, I get it. Mm-hmm. You may have to shoulder that, but that wasn't God's best.
That wasn't the original design.
It wasn't the original plan.
Right.
And you're doing it. So right. God bless you.
Right.
Because you are capable. Mm-hmm. Like, you are equal in the eyes of God just as a man is.
Right.
Hands down. That's what the scriptures tell us. Mm-hmm. However, God's design is always going to be where the sweet spot is, the blessing. Mm-hmm. Right. And I don't mean that you can't be blessed if you're single. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, when it falls in that proper order, things function as God designed them to function. Mm-hmm. So where else are we seeing it?
Well, just this whole, like,
the attack.
Men are too much. It's toxic masculinity. It frustrates me when I even hear it, because I think it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Now, again, not like we have seen where there are abusive men and controlling men. These domineering, like, that's not what we're talking about.
We're talking about good, godly men.
Right.
Men that actually follow the Bible. Not just do what they think they want out of the Bible and the way they want to do it, but actually living the life that God has called you to live.
Not just call yourself a Christian man and then go and you're being abusive.
And doing whatever you want to do. Right. That doesn't even line up.
Right.
Right. I'm talking a man that's vested, that's seeking after the Lord with all of his heart. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of men that we're talking about. Men that will defend their livelihood, to defend their family, right? Put themselves up on the cross, right? For their family. Self-sacrifice. Where's that at? That's very different. That's a different way of thinking.
It's going to be difficult for men to get there if society keeps pushing them down.
Don't push them down, taking them out. I mean, again, the whole other thing that comes, just not they're attacking them, from the front, It's how can we get them off the mission? How can you take men out of the fight? What can you keep ingesting or injecting into them to keep them docile, not doing what God has called them to do? And I'm just going to name off a few that we see. Drugs, alcohol, pornography, work. Anything else you can think of?
Money,
right?
Yeah.
Hobbies. Guys, and well, some of these things are bad, but they're not all like we consider bad. Like work's not bad. Out of balance work can become, a hindrance to your family and your relationship. But work is actually a good thing. God wants you to work. But these things out of order, and again, anything that God has created outside of his design can end up becoming harmful when it's used not for the way that God intended it to be used. Right? So these are some of the ways that, man, if we can just keep them on the Kool-Aid, we can stop them from taking their post and taking their position, and we give over ground to the enemy.
Yeah, and just seeing the way that our world is today, we need good, godly, God-fearing men to rise up. It's time to rise up. It's time to stand up for your marriage, for your family, defend your family.
Yeah.
Stand up for what God is calling you to stand up for. Feels like we're running out of time.
Baby, we're just getting started. Guys, this is a daily battle. What we're sharing with you right now, I know some of it may seem a little heavy, but we're sharing it with you because it matters so much. Men, you matter. You matter to not just your wife, you matter to your family, you matter to your community, right? Learn your rightful place. Not what we're saying, but what God says.
Right.
Who has God called you to be? What is the mission that God has put on your life? Because I can tell you this, if you're here and you have breath in your lungs, you've got purpose, and God has a purpose for you.
Well said.
Well, thank you. So guys, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you what you're seeing in your community where you're at. Where are you seeing this getting all discombobulated and flipped upside down? Because that's usually what happens in the world. We take God's design and they flip it upside down and they start doing the opposite.
Women.
Oh, call them, girl.
What does a manly man look like in your home? Like, what do you desire? What does that look like? What is that definition for you? How do you define a manly man, like a God-fearing man? What does that look like?